long as they are joint releases.
Then let's move on to your proposals. We'll indicate how we feel about ours, and of course you can do the same about yours. I see a situation.
Notice you brought up this matter of work uniforms for custodians again. I thought our position was clear on this last time. We see no need to put everyone in uniform. But is this going to be a perennial that we have to beat to death every year?
Well, this is an important issue. We shouldn't have traded it off last year. Don't make the mistake of not treating it seriously.
Then maybe you better explain it to me, because it's certainly not self-evident why this is a problem.
Alvarez?
Look, we're talking about some of the lowest paid people in the city. You expect them to look clean and neat in public places. But they have to clean up messes, haul trash, and every other dirty job that comes along. That's hard on clothes, man.
How many sets of work clothes do you think they can afford on their pay? Just pay them a decent wage. And then we'll forget about this demand.
The employees who really need uniforms already have them. And why should we think you're going to stop at custodians? We just don't want to open a Pandora's box.
No promises, man.
Maybe others just as bad off, but this time we're just talking about custodians. Hey, it's just a handful of people we're asking for. But if you want to give uniforms to more people...
How many are we talking about, Ray?
No more than a couple of dozen.
Is that right?
Pat, would you get me some cost figures on the purchase and rental of some cotton work uniforms?
We already have a contract for uniforms for meter readers, but this would cost more because they get dirty faster. I don't think that we ought to...
You provide the uniforms, we'll keep them clean.
How much, Pat?
$30, $40 a person, but...
Let's not be unreasonable. Now, there may be some advantage to the city in having custodians more identifiable, particularly where they're working in public and visible. Some of them come to work looking pretty damn tacky. And I think maybe Murphy has a constituent problem on this one. How about it, Murph? If we agree to this on the basis of we provide and you wash, what are we going to get back?
How about we give you a lunch break?
Does that mean you're buying?
Ha! I just want a burger and a cola.
Not if COLA stands for cost of living allowance.
I see here that you propose a limitation on temporary transfers.
We've got to put a limit on it. There's a point when a temporary transfer becomes permanent.
We're not talking about eliminating transfers altogether. We understand you've got to have it, but there have to be limits.
What sort of time limits are you talking about?
15 days.
I'm not so sure that that's realistic. But let's hold up on that for a minute and talk about something that's really bothering us. The matter of balancing overtime. Now, rather than going through the headache of balancing overtime on a constant basis, can we work something out that's still fair to the employee and yet would be easier to administer?
Well, what would you suggest as a reasonable amount of time?
I think we would be interested in a yearly overtime equalization.
I'm going to surprise you, Mr. Calloway. You're such a nice fella. If you want to settle this, and if you want to give us some relief on temporary transfers, we'll agree to equalize overtime every 6 months.
I think we can work something out.
Then let's consider these two issues tentatively agreed to pending the outcome of the entire contract.
I believe we're making good progress, Joe, and I think it'd be appropriate to take a recess. But first, let's take a quick look at some of the issues still on the table.
Fine.
We're still at odds on the term of the agreement. As you know, we want 3 years this time.
If you want more than 1 year, you're going to have to buy it, Tom, and cost of living will be part of the price.
We want a no-strike clause.
Lord knows why.
And we're committed to a clause in the contract providing the management the right to contract out work, if in our judgment it's necessary.
It'll never fly, Tom. Be careful with that one. By the way, I noticed you put your demands at the top of the list. When we get back, we'd like you to respond to our proposals on health insurance, an extra holiday, our educational incentive program, reform of the Employee Appeals Board process, the residency issue, and, of course, our wage proposal.
Is that all?
Well, of course, we'll respond to your proposals, as absurd as they are. Do you really expect to get contracting out, a no-strike clause, and a 3-year contract?
It seems that you have set the tone of our next session.
The meek may inherit the earth, Mr. Calloway, but they rarely get justice.
We just haven't got the money.
Look, Pat, if we're going to get a 3-year contract, we're going to have to pay for it somehow. It's that simple.
You gave them their uniforms. You're giving them that $10,000 increase in major medical insurance, and you're thinking of giving them that educational incentive. Now, that's new money. Where do you think it's coming from?
Mayor Hobson, please.
1 moment, please.
Jim, this is Tom.
How's it going?
Things look fairly good. We've got a number of issues settled, like overtime traded off predictably for temporary transfers.
When do you get to the heavy stuff?
Pretty soon, Jim. We get the feeling a long-term agreement is possible, but it's tied to COLA. You know, cost of living. I think we can get a multi-year agreement, but I've got to know how far we can bend.
Let me talk to Pat.
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Pat, have you changed your projection of revenue and expenditure since your last report to me? What can we afford to put on the table?
I still expect that revenues for the next 3 years will increase at about 2% a year. We can spend no more than $4 million per year for the next 2 or 3 years. Now, that includes wages and fringes.
What's that in percentages?
Well, if my projections are correct and we have no unexpected changes, that means 13% the first year and something less the second and third year. Mr. Mayor, wages are only a part of the cost of their demands. We have insurance, educational incentives. These cost money, too.
Thanks, Pat. Put Calloway back on.
Yes, Jim.
Keep wages under 5% a year for the time being and no cost of living. And remember, Tom, I don't like surprises.
Then you better be ready for a residency fight.
You know my position, Tom. Hold the line. And Tom, keep me informed.
What's the deal?
The mayor says no COLA.
Good.
They won't buy it.
Crying out loud, Tom, we're not running a damn supermarket here. We're supposed to be negotiating a contract. And anyway, we're the buyers in this thing. We're buying their labor, and that's all. We're paying too damn much.
It's always a mystery to this reporter that the periodic press releases from the city's negotiating table praise the sensitivity and the wisdom of both sides and insist that substantial progress has been made. Yet, day after day, week after week, the issues remain unresolved and the negotiations go on and on and on and on. Can we initial the insurance proposal?
With the new language, yes. Let's talk about this additional holiday. You've got 11 now.
Well, 12 to 13 is about average for industry in this area. And that being the case, we don't think we're out of line.